Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Whiskey Jedi podcast. If you have joined me before, first of all, thank you so much for joining me. If you've never joined me before, this is my first official live video. And so, first of all, thank you so much for joining me on this first ever live video here on the channel. It's interesting because I've done shows on Wednesdays beforehand. They're all been pre-recorded. Wednesdays have been a little tough for me lately. It's been very busy inside of my household and as far as podcasting goes, but I thought to myself, you know what? I want to get this show out this week. I want to make sure I get something out for you guys and for myself. And why not go live? Just why not go live during during the afternoon and the normal time I record? And so here we are on a Thursday afternoon, ready to shoot the Whiskey Jedi podcast. If you've never joined us before, it's very simple. You may be wondering, the Whiskey Jedi, what is that? I combine whiskey and I combine Star Wars. I talk Star Wars and I talk whiskey. And so what I do is every show I have a different whiskey that I highlight on the show. And as you can see on the screen there on the left-hand side, I am highlighting that specific whiskey. It is in the title of the video. It is called the Burning Chair. That is the company, and I will give background throughout the show on what this is. I will taste it. I will drink it as I talk Star Wars. But specifically for this episode, I will be watching Star Wars. And I am going to be starting my rewatch of The Mandalorian Season 1, which I am very excited to do because I have not seen the season since I watched it last year. And we are coming up very quickly on the Season 2, which is just around the corner. There's been rumors a lot lately. Whoa, as my camera doesn't do correctly. There we go. Season 2, trailer is rumored to be arriving very quickly here. And so why not start my rewatch this week and get into Episode 1, Chapter 1, if you will, of The Mandalorian. But before we do that, let's go ahead and introduce this whiskey that I'll be talking about today. And like I had mentioned, we're going to be discussing the Burning Chair. Now, you probably more than likely have never heard of the Burning Chair. And the reason why is because it is a local company here in my area, and I live in Northern California. And it is from Napa Valley, which is home of the wine. It is the home of the wine in many, many places. And so I'm very excited to talk about this whiskey. Let me show the bottle here. Very interesting bottle here on this side. Obviously, the logo has a burning chair on it, but it's all black. You can't see any of the actual whiskey itself. It's a matte finish, and it's just, even though it's very odd looking compared to a typical whiskey bottle, it's actually a beautiful looking bottle. And let me see if I can pull this image up real quick. I had an image of what it actually looks like brand new. It's right there as I shrink this down for you guys. So that's actually what it looks like brand new. And so they have the cool little red tape on there. It's very matty. It has that really cool finish to it. The whiskey to the left is actually a different type of whiskey. I'm drinking the bourbon today, which is the one on the right. And so, but that's what the bottle looks like brand new, which is very cool. The tape at the top is just an interesting little flash to it for whiskey, which always, whiskey bottles typically have that. So, so it's a very, very cool whiskey. As far as a little background on it here, it comes from the company Savage & Cook. And many of you may know Savage & Cook as a wine. And Savage & Cook is run by a renowned Napa Valley winemaker named Dave Finney. He is known for creating this. This is his inaugural bourbon. So the inaugural whiskey for the company, Savage & Cook. It's made from 3 different bourbons in 3 different areas, from Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So they all come from the home of bourbon. They're all mixed together, and it's aged for 4 years in American oak barrels and finished off, and here's where it gets interesting. It's finished off in wine barrels from Finney's Napa Valley Cabernet projects here in Northern California. That's interesting. That's different. That's not typically what you get for whiskey. So it's finished off in wine, and I'll get to that a little bit later, why that's a little important to this specific bourbon. But let me go ahead and pour a glass here while we get into this. Now, as far as how the Mandalorian is going to go for, I can't, because of rights and everything, I can't actually play the episode here on the screen, but I'm going to be watching it. You're not going to be able to hear the sound. I'll have the sound on my end. And I'll stop about 10 minutes in, and then I'll stop about 20 minutes in to discuss the whiskey, and then I'll watch it all the way through. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the episode runs around the like 35-minute mark or so. Um, and so I'm interested to see how this goes for the first time, obviously. I have 8 episodes of these, and just a little fair warning on this one. I'm going to probably have some special guests on some of these episodes. I've been talking to some friends and to some fellow Star Wars people, and I want to be able to have guests on these while I'm rewatching. Because I've wanted to have guests on the show in general, but specifically for the Mandalorian because it's such a just great um, just great Star Wars. It unites fans, and so I feel like having different people on for specific episodes would be a lot of fun. But with all that said, let me go ahead and take a sip of this real quick before we get into the actual episode, and then, like I said, I'll pause about 10 and 12 minutes in, discuss the actual flavoring and everything, watch it for another 10 or 12, pause again, discuss it, and then we'll finish off the episode. Oh yeah, I haven't had that in a while. It's actually been a long time since I've had this, so and I thought it was very appropriate to grab my Yoda glass because this is the first time we meet the child, Baby Yoda. So why not? Okay, let's go ahead and get into this episode here. Let me go ahead and shrink mine down a little bit. So I'm currently at 000. If you're watching this live or on the playback, if you want to pull it up on Disney Plus, I'm on season 1, episode 1, chapter 1 of The Mandalorian. And I will do a little countdown for y'all. All right. 3, 2, 1, play. It's currently the Disney Plus logos going across. I'm so excited. I haven't seen this in so long. The beautiful Lucasfilm logo here. I'm not going to skip any kind of intro or anything because I love the Star Wars intro on Disney Plus. It is so good. And then, of course, you hear the beeping of the Mandalorian, which is just absolutely brilliant. Oh, so good. What a great opening. Also, I love the fact that, unlike a lot of things in Star Wars, although they didn't do it with the Horatio Sands, obviously, which they should have, it's subtitles. You see aliens, right? You expect them to have subtitles. It makes sense. The way he just walks in is just genius. Absolutely genius. Of course, the first time you really hear the theme. That Western old gunslinger vibe, which I am just so attracted to, just as a fan. And seeing it in Star Wars is just absolutely brilliant. And then game over. Everyone just watching. Hell yeah, that's real Beskar. Game on. What an intro for this character. Not only is it just like totally Mandalorian style, right? The weapons, the gadgets, but it's so violent. And of course, that scene is just amazing. The door closing in on the guy. Still saying no words. And this is what I mentioned. This guy should have had subtitles. I get that they're doing the cameos, right? They're doing the cameos of all these major actors, but he should have had subtitles. You could have found a different way to bring him into the universe. Is that a bounty puck? Oh, such a great line. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. And then the theme, obviously. What a sleek design, too, by the way, for the logo. And of course, knowing what happens in the season, I remember watching this the first time, and on the other, the podcast that I'm part of, Apocalypse Movies, um, we were dissecting like, okay, what's his thing with droids? Like, what is his thing with droids? Why does he not like them? And of course, we find out. But what a great like just little tease for the future as to his relationship with them for his not just his entire life, but as the season goes on as well. And of course, the addition of Brian Posehn in here is just absolutely brilliant. Like, of course, Horatio Sands, you bring him in, right? You have him as an alien, and like I mentioned, you want him to have subtitles. You want that type of character, the way he looks, to have subtitles. It's the perfect cameo with Brian Posehn. That's how you do a cameo in this type of episode and season. And I'm not saying that his cameo is not bad, but the character needed subtitles. It would have been so much better if the character had subtitles. God, the visuals and learning months later that it was all shot in just a stage, it's just ridiculous. Look how incredible, and of course the big monster popping up here in a second. Poor Brian Posehn. I mean, honestly though, you get to cameo in Star Wars and be like, yeah, I was eaten by a whole monster. Such tension. And for Dave Filoni out of the gate to direct this live action for the first time, first ever attempt at it, truly brilliant. Such a cool looking creature too. Mixture of like a alligator and a walrus. A little bit of Godzilla in there. That music kicking in again. And the first time we get to see the rifle. Although not shot, just the shock end does some major damage to that thing. And of course, the Razor Crest. Great addition to the character. Again, the fact that it was all shot in a soundstage is just mind blowing. Just give him the cold shoulder. Knowing exactly what he's doing. God, I love this show. And it's nice because I haven't seen it in months. Like I mentioned, I mean it ended in what last November. Oh no, it ended the week after the Rise of Skywalker, so it ended in December. I haven't seen it in 8 months. like I mentioned up top, guys, I'll end up pausing it after the opening scene, after we kind of switch settings a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about the whiskey that I'm drinking, more on top of what I did at the beginning. And of course, answering the question, does Star Wars have toilets? They sure do. I remember seeing that for the first time and just being like, wow, this guy's loaded with weapons. Life Day. I mean, the great mention of Life Day, and then seeing here that the use of carbonite after the situation with Han Solo and the Empire Strikes Back, obviously. So good. Of course, that theme kicks back in, and we're going to be switching scenes here in a second. Our first ever set down on Navajo, I believe it's called. I might be saying that wrong. Once he lands, I'll go ahead and pause here because we are at the 10-minute mark. All right, the Razor Crest just landed. I'm sitting at 1020. I'm currently sitting at 1020. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this whiskey here, guys. So as I mentioned, the Burning Chair, local here in my area, which is really, really cool. I always love talking about local whiskeys that are here within my vicinity. I mentioned one beforehand a few episodes ago, and you guys can check that out. It's the Orange Whiskey, which I was very excited to try. But this one is, Savage and Cook, like I mentioned, Vallejo, California, Napa Valley, very, very similar. Now, as far as this bottle runs, it is a hefty price. It runs around a $50 range. And so if you're not looking for something that's not looking for something that's expensive, this obviously isn't for you. But if you're looking for something that's like worth the price, this is definitely something that's in that vicinity. As far as the taste goes, the flavor, in my research, and looking up, from the official site, and there's whiskey reviewers and stuff like that all over like YouTube and the internet and stuff. It's heavily described in many places as an intense and expressive whiskey. So it kind of has like that instant kick that'll kind of just like knock you down if you're not really expecting it. And as I mentioned with the bottle, how it kind of hides its coloring. If I pull this up, I don't know if you'll be able to tell here, but it very much has like a reddish hue to it for the coloring. And it's a much more of a deeper color than some bourbons would be. And the reason why is because, like I mentioned earlier, it's actually finished off in wine barrels, which gives it that reddish color. That's a straight influence from the wine barrels rather, that it sits in while it's kind of finishing off. Now, it ages for a long time. I don't exactly know how long it ages for in a whiskey barrel itself, but the fact that it's kind of combined with it uh, gives it this type of coloring that it has. Another interesting tidbit here, before I get to a little bit more of the taste later on in the show, is that a lot of people who taste it and kind of drink it on a regular basis, they think it actually tastes more like a rum than a bourbon, which is very interesting because you would never think to put those two together. You would never ever think that those would be anywhere near each other as flavor. But again, doing my research, a lot of people were saying, yeah, it kind of tastes a little bit more like a rum, which is a little shocking. And I've done some whiskey on here that have tastes like different type of whiskeys, like I did a Scotch a while ago that a lot of people claim to taste like a rye because it has a very heavy rye factor in the blending process, but not something like a whiskey to a rum. That's a big difference. So if you're a rum drinker, then maybe this is the bourbon for you. But like I said, It definitely gives you a kick right off the bat, and I'll get to a little bit of the more integral flavors of it in about 10 minutes or so. Once I watch a little bit more of the Mandalorian. Speaking of Mando here, um, I mean, what a great opening to the season and the episode. Obviously, just a great opening. Barely had any lines. I mean, barely has any lines through the entire season anyway. But just a great way to introduce the character. Obviously, some really cool Easter eggs in there for Star Wars fans. Um, as I mentioned with the carbonite, kind of like almost hinting at the fact that the use of carbonite became not I'm not going to say legal, but it didn't become illegal because of the use of it with Han Solo and The Empire Strikes Back. Maybe they saw that it worked and that it could be used, and the bounty hunting guild was like, "This is something we can use for our bounties." So a great little Easter egg there for fans. Um, Obviously, the small mentions like Life Day in the toilet, just answering stuff here for Star Wars fans. But just an incredible opening to the season, and some things that are going to come back in the future episodes. But we're going to get right to meeting Grief Karga here, and Carl Weathers, which I'm very excited to do once again. So let's go ahead and get back to this. And again, I'm at 10:20. I'm sitting at 10:20 on the episode. If you are watching live or on the playback, so if you want to do that, I'll go ahead and count down again from five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, the Trandoshans that end up coming back in the next episode. Great, incredible looking makeup as well. The practical effects is just absolutely bonkers. Jon Favreau, like, bravo, sir. Carl Weathers is so perfect for this role. So perfect. It's like unfairly perfect. Calamari flan. Love it. Filet mignon. I love the sound effects they give to those when you touch them too. It's so amazing. Yeah, and going back to the carbonite thing, like, it's genius. It really is. If you can perfect the process and put it on a ship like that, like, good for you. The one job that starts it all. Of course he's gonna take it. He's gotta do what he can to survive, right? But little did he know he just stepped in a world he has no idea existed. Or should I say that he's connected to more so than he realized. Subtle notes with the music too. If I haven't mentioned here on before in the podcast, I'm a huge music guy when it comes to film and television, and so it's always something that I pay attention to when watching anything. And The Mandalorian is just like it truly is peak Star Wars in a lot of ways. Of course, the callback to Jabba's palace with the security droid here popping its little eye out. And then, as the door opens, the first time we get to see stormtroopers post-Empire. Beaten, battered, rusted, dirty. Not the typical stormtrooper we have, come to know, obviously. And then the client, Werner Herzog. So brilliant. Of course, and if it's not something you know or have read about, Dr. Pershing here, if you look at the emblem on his sleeve when you get a chance, that is the emblem of the Camino cloning facility, which is very, very interesting and obviously comes back in the episode where the child is brought back, episode 3. Now the question is Dr. Pershing's story over? Because he's not dead. Will we ever find out what exactly they were looking for and wanted with him? The child, I mean. Ooh, true Beskar. The classic line from the trailer, clearly. The fob obviously being the tracking chip in Star Wars. And now we get to probably my favorite aspect. Poor monkey lizards. Poor monkey lizards. Of course they had to throw that in there. Probably my favorite thing to come out of the Mandalorian so far is the armor, the Mandalorians, and everything that went down with them. Um, you know, seeing them hiding and all that type of stuff. So I'm just everything about it is peak. I love it. It's amazing. I've always been a mythology guy. I've always been someone who loves history and backstory while this incredible music kicks in. And we of course we see the classic Mando beast there. I just, I'm so intrigued by this character and the way of life that they have and what they've been doing. And of course, we're going to find that out in season 2, but it's some of the most interesting things in Star Wars to me. Probably second to the Force. The Force comes first, and I would have to say that everything with Mandalorians probably comes second. I can see on my screen here, guys. I apologize if there's some kind of lag on my side. As I mentioned, this is my first live video while doing the watch along, and if the watch along is interfering with this, I might have to find another way to do it. And so I do apologize if that is the case, but I will watch the playback. And if you're watching, let me know in the comments if there is any kind of lag. I would love to know. The Great Purge, obviously something we want to know about. And of course, a lot of these answers we already have later in the season. The signet being revealed, of course, he's a clan of 2 with the child, with the Mudhorn being his signet, which if we go back on our reactions on our other channel, I called it from the very beginning. Seeing this as well, her work with the Beskar and everything is just brilliant. But like I was saying, if there is a lag, I apologize. I'm going to watch the playback, and I have a feeling that watching the video at the same time might be affecting it. If that is the case, I will definitely find a separate way to watch it in the future. That way it doesn't affect my video. Something that we got an answer to, obviously, what is a foundling? It's learned, and of course, the first set of flashbacks we ever got of the character, which came at the perfect time while she's creating this shoulder piece for him. Like I was saying, though, a foundling being someone who isn't of Mandalorian blood, who is brought into the clan, essentially adoption, an orphan. Because as revealed, many Mandalorians, many of the clans, they're not Mandalorians. They are, it's a way of life, if you will. Like they said, this is the way. Ludwig Göransson just absolutely murdering the score. Again, the fact that this is on a soundstage just blows my mind. What a great shot of him with his rifle. The classic flamethrower from the arm. And then the introduction of one of the coolest characters in Kuiil. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Nick Nolte as the voice obviously is the greatest choice of all time. I still need that t-shirt. I still need the t-shirt. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there. 2405 is where I'm at. 2405, and like I mentioned, guys, if there's a lag on my end, I apologize. But let's go ahead and talk about this flavoring of the whiskey here. I do have a few things I want to note with it as I wrap everything up here because there's not much of the episode left. And so I haven't talked about the actual flavoring of it. So when you open the bottle, and because typically with a whiskey bottle, you're going to give it a little bit of a taste, right? You're going to kind of get a feeling for it. And one of the things that you're going to get is the smell of it off the bat. You're going to kind of just get a real sense of what it's going to feel like when you taste the whiskey. And it's interesting because the smell and the flavoring is actually a little different. And so when you smell it, when you crack open the top of this bottle and you take a whiff of it, you kind of get a mixing of very interesting flavors. Brown sugar, caramel, whatever you want to say, butterscotch, and of course the smoky oak flavor, which is very typical in a lot of bourbons. So brown sugar, caramel, butterscotch, and smoky oak. So a little bit of a sweeter flavor there. And that does translate into the tasting of it. But not as much as you would think it would. It is smooth, but like I mentioned, it is kind of aggressive up top. But it is a little bit smoother. And it has a very maple kind of candied spice flavor to it, where you kind of get that kick from the spices. And that is responsible for probably what could be considered its signature. A lot of bourbons have signatures, whether it's the bottle or a specific flavor or something like that. And to me, when I think of Burning Chair, one of the biggest signatures or the signature I'm thinking of is how long of an aftertaste it has. When you taste it and you really take a sip of it, it has this really persistent feeling to it to where it doesn't go away until you take another drink. And it might be a head thing, I don't know, but when I sip this and I kind of, and like as you can see, I'm kind of, getting low already, but um, it just kind of lingers. It's a lingering taste, which is what you want because you want to keep drinking it, right? And that's to me, that's a signature. That is a signature to me. So it's a lot of different flavors, a lot of interesting flavors. I didn't mention vanilla because most bourbons have vanilla in it, so you can definitely have a little vanilla flavor in there as well. But the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that it's a lingering taste. It'll sit there until you take another sip, and so expect that. Just be ready for that. But at the end of the day, that is a good thing because that is something that you want to go back to and you want to continue drinking at the same time. So, with that said, I will touch on the bottle and everything afterwards. But we're going to get back to the final moments of this episode. I have probably around about 10 minutes left, and so let's wrap this puppy up where we get to see IG-11 and the child for the first time. Again, 2405, and I'll go ahead and count down for you. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Queel is such a great character. Also seeing the Disney gallery, obviously after the making of the Mandalorian, and seeing how they created Queel is just incredible. I have spoken. Getting his blurg on. At least they don't try to run you over like bulls do. Quill's pulling Rocky quotes out here, man. A little Mickey action. So I will say this: when I was watching this scene as they're running across, the plains and jumping over gaps and stuff like that, the one thing that I didn't like when I initially had watched this episode was the score happening. I have already mentioned Rocky, and right now it feels very Rocky esque. Like it has this kind of sports theme to it, and I wasn't really attracted to that in the moment. But then I heard the entire score all together, and I really started to kind of get a feel for it. Whereas now I listen to it on a regular basis in one of my playlists. So, um, just an interesting little tidbit there. I need that T-shirt. IG-11, baby. Let's go. Oh my goodness. I can't express enough how much I enjoy watching the character move. How they created him with the movements and the way his head stays still, but his body goes this way and arms, and it's so perfect for an IG unit. And of course, the great Taika Waititi of voicing IG-11 and then later directing Episode 8. Oh, it's so good. Just the two of them together just wrecking shop. Come on, game over. And then music kicks up, you know it's about to go down. So amazing. Oh my god. And then the big gun comes. Yeah, right. Look at that. Woo! So dope. Oh, IG-11 is just such a treat. And the child mayhem was born. and the choice that changed his life forever. Beautiful shot. A beautiful shot. Woo! All right. Well, chapter 1, officially in the books. Let me go and stop this here, see if I can get back on track with my my timing for the episode. But I mean, look, just an incredible start to what was ended up being a mind-blowing season. We all know clearly what happens. Um, but watching it back after sitting around for so long, just the subtle nods to everything is pretty incredible. And obviously, the setup for episodes to come is just as incredible. And so I'm extremely excited to see these next 7 episodes from a different perspective than it was beforehand. Now, I don't exactly know if episode or chapter 2 will come next week or if it'll come the week after. I know that I'm getting short on time for when the release date of season 2 is coming out. And so there might be a time where I double up, do 2 episodes a week, two shows a week or something. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely be doing all 8 episodes before the season 2 is released. And so I'm very excited about that. This went really well, and like I mentioned, if there was a little bit of a struggle as far as the lag, I apologize, but I will make sure that doesn't happen next time I do this. I can either watch it on my television or on my iPad. I was watching it on the screen here because it was just a lot easier for me. But if that doesn't work, it's okay. I can adjust. I can put the iPad right in front of me, and we'll be good to go. So, with that said. As I wrapped up everything Star Wars, let's go ahead and wrap up everything whiskey here. The Burning Chair, everyone. The Burning Chair, locally owned and crafted here in Northern California. And if you're looking for any kind of information on it, make sure you check out the entire episode. If you checked out the back end or whatnot, I covered it throughout the entire episode. I took little breaks between the episodes here and there and broke down the flavoring, where it's from, why it is, how it is, etc. And so, and if you guys give it a chance, if you find it, if you give it a drink, make sure you shout me out on social media, whether you like it or not. I'd love to hear from you guys. I would absolutely love to hear from you guys on whether or not whether you checked it out and whether or not you liked it. So, for now, this is the Whiskey Jedi podcast. I can't thank you enough for joining me and checking out myself on this first official live video. I don't know if every single one of them will be live. If this works out, I may just end up doing it live from now on because it's a lot easier on my end, but we shall see. We shall see. For now, where you can find us, I keep saying us, but it's me. Where you can find me, the show lives on YouTube, typically every Wednesday, but for right now, this week it was on Thursday. I usually do it on Whiskey Wednesdays, and so just check back on my social media. I usually keep everyone updated on there, which is at Qui-Gon Jake right down there below. That's on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me there at Qui-Gon Jake. The show is also available on audio, so Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google, all that good stuff. If you want to rather listen than watch, that is totally your preference and totally okay. The show is available on audio, so I highly recommend checking that out. If you don't listen on audio, I'd love for you guys just to show me some love and go ahead and subscribe on there. I'd love that. I'd appreciate that. That'd be awesome. Even if you don't listen, if you rather watch, that's cool. Of course, if you're watching, if you checked it out, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you want more of the Whiskey Jedi stuff. And I will also say this, you will find and see more than just this show on this channel in the future. I'm working on possibly playing Squadrons on this channel and streaming it and playing and having a little fun, something different from talking. And so make sure you, if you're interested in that, subscribe, and you can check that out here in a few weeks. So for now, I'm Jake Berlin, a.k.a. The Whiskey Jedi. Thank you so much for joining me on this first official rewatch episode of Mandalorian Season 1, Chapter 1. Let me know what you guys thought of it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. And, of course, make sure you check back weekly as we are covering everything Star Wars. I keep saying us and we. As I cover everything Star Wars and everything whiskey, I would love for you guys to join me along the ride. So, for now, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. May the Force be with you.